bashing me. But thank you very much. I really
No, I will
appreciate
not.
it,
Don't
including on
thank
the
me yet.
wash.
Wait. Let me say something. She said I'm washing her. Now I know my students are very intelligent. At the end of this class, I want everybody to confirm whether I was washing her or not. That'll be all from me.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, it's afternoon. It's 3 minutes past 12. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are having a good day so far. And well, what Mr. Sammy has been doing has been great, giving everybody an opportunity to learn. I wish I had these opportunities when I was starting out in radio, just not knowing what I was doing, because I always wanted a mentor, at least somebody to learn from. But you people have that privilege, and I think it's something that is great. Right. So let's just, I don't want to waste much of your time. So I'm going to try and keep it as short and simple and straightforward as possible. Plus, as much as possible, I'd love for this session to be very, very interactive. So it's not just going to be me talking. I would love to answer all your questions, anything that you might want to ask me, and all of that. I'd really love for it to be very interactive. I don't know if everybody can hear me. Maybe you can just drop a chat saying you could hear. Yeah? Okay. Okay. So can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
Okay,
can
okay,
hear
okay.
you, ma'am.
All right then. Okay, so let's just begin. I'm going to be talking about radio in this digital environment that we find ourselves, because let's face it, everything is digital nowadays. Nowadays, it's all about tech. You hear about tech money. Oh, if you don't have a career in tech money is like the new oil money, this one and that one. But as you know, radio has been around for a very, very, very long time. In fact, there was a time I was considering doing my project on, um, basing whether or not it's possible for traditional media, like radio, like TV, to be removed by these new technological advancements that are coming up every day. Because now, I mean, before now, most people would turn on their radio to listen to news, to listen to music. But now you don't need a radio for that. You can actually do that with your phone, right? You can just go online and tune in, plug into your Apple Music and just listen to music. You want news, you can just go online and find news. But at the same time, radio is still that tool that reaches so many different people, and the people that equally make it so as well happen is equally the personalities. Because while you can listen to music or listen to your sports news or listen to your political news, nobody you can read that, but the way your on-air personality will give you that news is not going to be the same way you would get it from these other platforms, and that is what makes radio unique. So like I said, we are in a digital world, so I'm just quickly going to, and I just hope that you learned something today. So let's start. So you want a career in radio. Now, you may probably already know this. There are so many aspects of working in radio. So if you feel like, hey, I have tried to be an OAP and it's not working out for me, there are so many other different aspects that you can still have a very solid career in the radio and in the media industry. You don't just have to be on air talking. The way radio has evolved over the years, because like I said before, now you needed traditional radio sets to listen to the radio, but thanks to technology, now you can even have the radio on your phone. That's why you can be in Port Harcourt and you're listening to a radio station that is in the UK. Because do you see how digital has come and played a part in radio? Now, how do these things happen? Is because somebody is making them happen. Somebody who has the technological know-how. So which means that your work is not just limited to being on air. It is somebody who knows how to design an app that will design the app so that you can be able to listen to radio if you're in China, you'll be listening to somebody who is in Nigeria. Somebody designed that app, but the person is not necessarily on air. So, I mean, in a world also as well where you see, oh, there's video content, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, everybody's trying to be a video content creator and all of that, you find radio still trying to adapt. Now, like I said, there are so many different aspects of it. There's web design, there's app design. You can be a community manager that is in charge of monitoring and posting on the radio social media pages, because everybody wants a digital presence. So if you, that's why you will see us on Instagram. Follow at the Beat 99.9 FM on Instagram. Follow at Niger FM on Instagram. Because everybody knows that, okay, we have to keep up to the trends. There's somebody who actually manages these pages that is not necessarily a radio presenter themselves. But what do they have to do? They have to come up with new trends, try to find out, okay, how is this related to my field? How can I make it, how can I create content while still on Instagram that is related to the radio industry? Which is why you now probably see content like coming in for your shift, or some like jokes about basically being in radio. So like there are other opportunities for you in the digital space. Like I said, being a web designer. Now, the news that is read on radio, that is being prepared by the news team, the reporter brings in the newscaster has read the news. Now, at the end of the day, now there's the digital aspect of it. That same news that was read on radio, it will now be uploaded into the radio website. So you can now go there and visit it as though you'd visit any radio blog post. I don't know. Have you guys see, sometimes, have you people ever gone to read or seen news stories from a radio station's blog?
Yes, ma.
Like, yeah. Okay, cool. Like I said, it's going to be interactive. So please, you people should be answering Asa back. Okay. So, yeah, okay. Someone said yes, they have seen that. And that is because, like I said, is the digital aspect of it. So the person has read the news. Now you take the news and then you upload it online. So this is why I said you can still have a career in the industry. Now I'm going to share my own personal experience, right? And let you know how the digital aspect of everything has influenced me as a radio presenter. So I've been doing radio for like a little over 8 years now. And sometime last that was last year. Actually, it's almost a year since I moved. Last year, October. Now, before COVID struck, I was like, oh, I love radio, but I also love making videos as well. And I was saying how if I keep doing radio, it was not going to allow me time to make videos, because I'd really love to focus on my video. That's another thing that I love and all that. But then, as I was planning to move to Lagos, where I felt like there were a lot of creatives, COVID happened, and it was not a wise decision. I mean, people are losing their jobs. I will now want to carry my bag, enter night bus. Well, I'm joking about the night bus one, but yeah, to go and chase my dreams in Lagos in the middle of COVID, that just did not make any sense. So that put a hold on my plans, right? So sometime last year, our rent was about to expire. And then we thought about it, was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to finally do this thing, because I really, really want to do video, right? So, and then I reached out to my company, saying that I have video skills. Is there space for me in the digital department, because I would love to do this? And I was willing to just drop radio just so that I can focus on videos. But listen, as God will have it, at the end of the day, I didn't have to stop doing radio, and I'm currently doing videos at the moment, which is because I joined the digital department here in Lagos, right? So I didn't need to quit radio for all that, since there was space for me in the digital department. So now I still do radio on air during the weekends, right? But during the weekdays, I just spend my time creating video content. So at the same time, I didn't have to stop one. I'm still in the industry that I love, but I didn't have to quit one for the other, because somehow both of them were linked. So because now what I do is all those interviews that you see on YouTube, because like I said, everything is digital. Some people are not listening real time. They might want to come back and watch the video, or maybe listen to the interview again. But now people prefer to watch stuff. So let's say Wizkid comes to the Beat 99.9 FM for an interview on the Morning Rush. So now it's my job to record that video, edit that video, and then upload it on the YouTube channel, or maybe just send it to the community manager. Community manager is another word for like social media manager. So the social media manager now puts captions or whatever he thinks is going to drive traffic to the YouTube page, and then post it on Instagram too as well. So at the same time, you see that I'm doing these things side by side because now they are linked together. So my job also entails me now going out for events and then making video content as well that you will eventually see on either Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. Now we are doing the same reporting by a radio station, but now video is involved. That's where me I come in. And at the same time, at the same time, you are, as a digital person, you're going to be thinking of, okay, what kind of video content am I going to create that will, because people's attention span is just very tiny, so you need to keep people entertained. So what kind of TikTok trends can I do? What kind of Instagram trends can I do? To what kind of video content would people love? So that's why you see us, maybe sometimes we'll go out to do vox pop. For instance, if it's a BTFM audience, that is what I'm going to get to. Some things that you should know as a digital person. You need to understand what your audience will love, just like the radio listener too as well. The BTFM audience is different from the Niger FM audience, is different from the Classic FM audience, is different from the Lagos Talks audience. You need to find out, just like when you're speaking to, for instance, if I was going to do a radio program for Beat FM, and then I'm talking about something that happened in the 1960s to people who are 15-year-olds in secondary school, they might not be interested in that. But once I start something about Whiskey or Burna Boy, you will see everywhere will be buzzing. Do you get? It's the same thing too as well. If we were going to do vox pop on the streets to create video content for radio, now the audio will be extracted and used on radio, while the video will go to all these other social media platforms. So now, yeah, like I mentioned, you need to think about trends, you need to think about ways that you can apply yourself. So don't just limit yourself. And another reason why I was able to also be transferred to Lagos too as well is because of these other skills that I possess. Listen,
I can speak with you. Speak with him.
sorry, what? Someone's mic is on and they're saying something. Can I proceed?
Sorry, man. That was an interference. You can proceed. Sorry, man. That was an interference by someone's mic. Please, you can proceed. I think the person.
All right then. So yeah, okay. I can't remember what I was saying, but I'll try to retrace my steps. So okay, so you need to think about what is relevant to your audience. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need. Look around you, whatever skills that you possess. If you really want a career in radio, find out, is it possible to apply it in the radio industry? Because really, being on radio is more than just being an on-air personality. There are so many different what's the word now? There are so many different sectors that actually make a radio station function, and the on-air personality is just one of them. You have marketers. Now, people are doing their job on radio. It's the marketer's job to go out and bring adverts, because that's how the radio station makes money. You have traffic managers, people who will schedule the adverts. You have people who will gather the news. You have the digital people, like I said. You have the receptionists. There are just so many people that come together. That you have people who will be tracking the progress online. And for instance, almost every week we get analytics about how well the app is doing, how many people listen from the app, how many people, what type of growth did we record on our social media pages. It's somebody that is doing these jobs, but we are still working in a radio organization. So before I go to some of the things that you absolutely need before you start your career as a digital person, especially as a video person, because I'm going to be talking as a video point of view because that's what I do. So, do you have anything that you want to ask before I proceed? Yeah, someone's hand is up. Go ahead, please.
All right, ma. My question is concerning Vox Pop. How can someone probably because of lack of good camera and microphone, how can someone harness equipment and organize Vox Pop that will interest people respond?
So let me
Because
tell you.
I think people have this mindset probably because it's not a camera and there's no boom mic around. When they see the phone, they shy away from it.
Hmm. Okay, okay. That's a great question, but let me tell you this. Sometimes, it's not even sometimes, all the time, even with my camera and boom mic, people will still run away. They'll tell you, no, sorry. I'm like, even when you tell them, sometimes, Seth, even when there's no camera in their face or phone and you tell them that is recorded, their face is not showing, people will still shy away or run away. So it's not really the equipment that is making people run away. It's just that some people are shy, and when it's time to talk, they don't want to talk, or for whatever reasons best known to them. But I promise you, there are people who will still talk to you, even if you are using your phone. So you don't have to have an expensive equipment. Check most of the content creators, what they're using these days is their phone. In fact, most times when we go out to create content, it's the phone that we use. For example, all those, if you check the Beat FM's Instagram page now and you see for it's called 60 seconds with the beat. Do you know that it's actually recorded with a phone and a small camera microphone attached? You know, there's this microphone that you attach to phones so that it can have clearer audio. That is what we use. So really it's not about the equipment. So if you really want to get Vox Pop, you can do that with your phone. For a very long time, me personally, I was using my phone to record audio. So yes, I had a camera, but at the time I did not have a microphone. So what I did was I had this small iPhone, and one of the things that the iPhone did was it had great voice recording quality, such that even in a very crowded area, as long as the mic was close, the speaking area was close to somebody's mouth, it will pick up the audio and it will be so clear. For a very, very long time, it was my phone that I was using to record audio, and people still spoke to me anyway. So, yes, while it is great to have a camera and have a boom mic and all those things, you really truly do not need them. You can save up and get them eventually, but you can actually start with your phone. If possible, invest in a phone that has great camera, but whatever equipment you have, you can actually start. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else, or should I go ahead?
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma. My name is
Good.
Divine. I want
Good
to ask,
afternoon.
what are some necessary skills someone has to have before going into the broadcasting industry?
Hmm. I mean, it all depends, really, truly. uh, Like I said, but I think maybe like anyway, I was going to get to that, which is um basically broadcasting is all about spreading information. So one of the skills is the ability to source information. you need to be fast paced too as well. That's actually what I was going to get to. So whatever departments that you find yourself, either way, it needs to be fast paced. So you need to be able to push yourself. You need to be willing to learn, and see, radio is such a beautiful thing that regardless of what you studied, if you studied accounting, you can still be a radio presenter as long as you know what you are doing. There are some people who studied banking and finance that during the week they are working in the bank, during the weekday they're doing radio. But it's not just anybody that can do radio. You have to just be able to know what it is that you are actually doing and the information that you're passing across. So, I mean, skills are relative, but basically having a general idea, studying your target audience, and I don't know, really, it depends. Like I said, the skills that you're going to get depends on the department that you want to fall into or the category that you want to fall into. For example, I love video, so I fall into the video department in the radio company that I work for. So I knew how to edit videos. I'm not going to lie. There are so many things that I didn't still know. For example, color grading and all that. Also, when I started here too as well, I didn't know how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. I've been using Final Cut. I've been using iMovie because that came with a Mac. But Adobe Premiere Pro, to me, it was so complicated. I had watched so many YouTube videos, but for some reason, the Premiere Pro was not clicking. But when I got here, Premiere Pro is the software that they are using. So I just had to learn. So you have to be willing to learn too as well, and not be shy to learn, or not have too much pride to learn. I was also straightforward and told them that, see, yes, I know I have small knowledge of Adobe Premiere Pro, but I'm not really used to it. And that's also another thing. If the people that you're working for are willing to give you that opportunity to grow, that's a beautiful thing. If you equally show the willingness to learn whatever skill, that's also a beautiful thing. So the video guy who was currently there, I would sit next to him and ask questions. I would watch him work. And now Premiere Pro is actually the one that I'm using more of than that's the other day when I opened the Final Cut and the iMovie, I was actually confused because I've been using Premiere Pro now for almost 1 year, and it looked like such a big and difficult thing because some of the features that you have on Final Cut that were so easy to do, it was looking like, oh, it was complicated on Adobe Premiere Pro. But it turned out that all you just needed to do was to watch somebody do it. So whatever skill that you think that you want, you can actually go ahead, you can learn them on YouTube if you can't find where to pay to learn or somebody who to teach you. Some of the things that I know too as well, I learned from YouTube, I learned from asking questions, I learned from watching other people too as well. So yes, that's ability to learn. So ability to figure out what it is that okay, what another department, you in the department that you find yourself, you also need to figure out by yourself what skills that are required, what new things do you need to learn. You need to constantly learn, so that way you can be ahead and stay on top of your game. Because if you remain in the same position where you were like 2 years ago in knowledge, it doesn't really make any sense. And that's also another thing in the broadcasting industry. You have to constantly improve yourself. There is something that Olisa Adibwa said when we were starting in radio, and that has stuck with me over the years. He said that during our um what do you call it when they are carrying people around, the training show, when we were about to start in BTFM about 5 years ago. He said every day you wake up, make sure that you learn something new. Now, something new doesn't necessarily mean a new skill. It means make sure that you have one new information. So that means when you wake up, you're online. So there is something new that you didn't know yesterday that you know today. So that means that you just constantly have to keep yourself up to date regularly. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma. Thank you very much. Because I want to be a sports analyst. That's why I asked the question.
Okay, so now you have to go online and find out, okay, as a sports analyst, what do I need to do, or what do I need to have? What skills do I need to develop to be able to be a great sports analyst? Because it's not one size fits all, really. So that's research that you need to do.
Thank
Or
you
maybe
very
ask
much.
Mr. Sammy.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have something else?
Yes, ma. Good afternoon, ma.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you, ma. My name is John Peters, please. I want to ask, you've mentioned that the tech development right now, the advent of tech is almost taking over everywhere, where you can sit down anywhere, even outside the country, and get your information as you would have done in the traditional radio station, even though there are slight differences. And that would have also prompted you to see how it could be. I mean, this traditional system could be phased out. I want to ask, how is it easy for one to start an online radio platform? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, that's also another thing that you need to research, because first of all, I don't know the techno. It can be done. It can be done, but you need to speak to somebody who can set it up. But for one, I think what you need is just like most people have podcasts these days. You need to have the equipment. Then you also need to find out how from somebody who has the technical knowledge of how it works to be able to host it online such that you can have an maybe online radio station. You need the physical equipment, you need the space where you can do the broadcast, plus you also need another person who has that know-how. So it can be quite easy if you have these resources, so you just need to figure out um, how and who would help you do it. Because I know that there was one time a while back that there was this online radio station that I used to listen to. They will try and make trend on Twitter. I'm trying to remember their name. It's been a while now. They stopped that. They just had a really small space for 3 microphones, maybe 2 microphones, and whenever they were broadcasting, the whoever was hosting it would make it go live. And then if people needed to call in, they'll call in on Skype, and somehow it was all connected. So find one of these website people that know all these things and ask them. Those are the ones that you need to ask. But really, radio is not going anywhere because it has been around for a very, very long time and it keeps adapting. So, yeah. Does that answer your question? Hello? Okay, maybe he's gone, but does anybody else have another question? I see he went away and came back. John Peters, so I don't know how much of what you heard, but I hope I answered your question, Sha, before you left.
Yes, ma'am. So sorry, please. A call came in and interrupted it, but I got everything you said, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Cool. So Arsalam Owolobi, I see that your hand is up.
Thank you. Yes. With the digitalization of the media, and as, for instance, a news reporter, a news caster, how does one get correct information? How do you vet the information you get so you're sure you're reporting correctly? For instance, you want to report the news in Kenya. You're not in Kenya. How do you get your information correct, accurate?
Okay. All right, that's great, because that's one of the things that as a radio person, so as well as a person in the broadcasting or journalism industry, you need to make sure that your information is correct. If you cannot verify it, then you don't put it out. So how do you make sure? Where are you going to get this source? Mind you, on social media, there's a lot of fake news. Where are you going to? What sources are you going to make sure Are they a reputable website? Are they a reputable news agency? For example, if I read something on, if I wanted to verify an information is true, I will go to news sites which I know that okay are really credible with their reporting. I'll probably go to somewhere like This Day, like Punch, or will I go to somewhere like one random blog like that? No, because you're not actually very certain that the news is correct. So if you wanted to report about something that's happening in Kenya, you need to find out, okay, are the reputable news sites in Kenya and media houses reporting that news? If none of them are reporting that news, then chances are it's fake news. Now, you also need to find out too as well. Thank God that there's social media, there's Instagram, there are emails. Um, you can find out other journalists that are in a different country from you, and then reach out to them, maybe via DM, LinkedIn, or something. Introduce yourself, and then form a relationship with them. So whenever you wanted to verify something, you can always reach out to them and say, hey, this is happening, is this true? But wherever it is that you're going to, you need to make sure that, okay, usually these people have a track record of reporting something that's credible. Because you know how many times that somebody will see something trending on social media, one made up story like that. That's also another thing we need to, before 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 you report something, you need to actually make sure. So sometimes when I'm not sure about something, maybe you just saw something trending on social media, I'll call our reporter and say, I heard this thing, is it true? The reporter will probably call, if the reporter is not there, the reporter will probably call somebody living in that area to confirm, is this true? Probably before they get back to me. And phone makes these things in like 10 minutes. You probably gotten the information that you need. So if you're reporting outside the country, number one, look for the credible news outlets in that country and see whether they're reporting that story as well, and whether there are multiple people reporting that story, or whether it's one fake news website like Daily Mail, or like, I don't know, just one random blog post reporting that. I would go to the BBC for accurate information. For example, I would trust the BBC over some blog like TMZ, for example. That is not to say these other blogs don't report accurate news, but more of them, you need to differentiate which one is gossip, which one is factual, so as well. So reach out to people in that country, form a friendship with them, find reputable news sources. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay. So anybody else? I think most of these things have actually answered some of the things that I was going to wrap up with, which was okay, what you need as a digital person in the radio industry, knowledge of the latest softwares, depending on departments that you are in, constantly updating yourself as well, ability to work fast, knowing that we live in a society where people's attention span is low. If there's fuel scarcity happening today and the story has broken today, or maybe there was a fire that happened today and it broke today, and then you're going to report about it 4 days later, it doesn't make any sense because people have moved on to the next thing that is happening. So another thing too as well you need is patience, because unlike a regular shift, so 9 to 5, or maybe like a radio shift that okay, I'm doing 4 to 6 on radio, being in digital can be dynamic. It can carry you anywhere, it can carry you they go where you don't know sometimes, because you might want to spend your Friday, but something could be happening. Let's say an event is happening, so you're probably out till like 12 or something, or there's a breaking news somewhere, you have to go cover it. So you need to have patience too as well. It also sometimes requires a lot of work. For example, if you're somebody who is constantly updating the radio station's website, um you need patience to source for news, sit down. That can be very tasking, looking at the computer screen all day. And then you also need patience to as well to, let's say, edit videos. you get like a lot of footage only for you to just do 1 minute out of everything for Instagram. Sometimes it can be very draining too. By the time you finish, it's like, oh boy, what a long day, and your head is pounding. But at the end of the day, it's also very rewarding. So yes, patience, ability to work fast, willingness to learn. Always try to update yourself too as well. These are some things that you might need. If you're into web design, you need to learn the latest how to work WordPress or any of them. If you're a social media manager for a radio station, you need to follow trends. These apps, they keep releasing updates every day. You need to study it. Whatever it is that you find yourself, you shall just need to excel and make sure that you're very great at it and find ways to improve yourself. So, any more questions? All right, Adekunle.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, and thank you for this wonderful session. Ma'am, quickly, I'm very fascinated by how you say you juggle both the radio and somewhat something close to television by being.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm quite fascinated by how you juggle between the radio and your online presence by publishing videos from time to time. So I want to ask this question briefly. How do you manage time? Because I had the privilege to be in the television station before now, and I was almost started with being on air presenting and also uploading social media content. How do you manage to work in between the both extremes? Thank you.
All right. You need to sometimes set boundaries too for yourself. So for me personally, the good thing about my radio and this thing is that it's not clashing at the moment. So you need to prioritize and know that, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to be on radio. So the time that I'm going to be on radio, that means it's going to have my full attention, or the time that I'm going to be on TV, is going to need my full attention. So prior to that, let's say maybe that you're a social media person or what, if you know that your shift for radio, whatever, starts by 6 p.m. So before 6 p.m., from 10 a.m. till before 6 p.m., what are you doing? That will probably be the best time for you to schedule tasks ahead. And the beauty of the of social media too as well is that it equally or creating content or video content, it equally allows you sometimes to batch create content, which means that, okay, do you have any free time? Is it possible for you to think about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What are some things that might be needed? Then you use one day and batch create the content and maybe post it on those days. Is that possible for you? But if you're somebody that maybe you have to constantly be updating, like say a news website or something like that, you now select the time in which, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to upload news. This is what I'm going to do within this time frame. From this time to this time, I'm going to eat my lunch and rest, because, well, you have to rest too as well. And then from this time to this time, I'm going to prep for my show and then do my radio show, and then finally go home and probably think about, well, maybe take like 30 minutes or something to think about your tasks for the next day. So it's up to you. And sometimes they clash, sometimes they can be draining, for example. But if it doesn't happen all the time, then it's great. Like for example, me now, I work Saturday early mornings, right? And there are times when there's an event on Friday night. That just messes everything up for me, because these events don't end late. So I'm going home at 2 a.m. and I have to come back at 5:30 or something, because I have to start my show at 6 a.m. But because this is something that doesn't happen all the time, maybe ahead of time, I would already plan for this. I'll prep for my show, because that's one thing I usually do ahead of time. But immediately afterwards, I'm going home, I'm canceling every other thing and trying to get the rest that I require. So you just have to find a way and plan. And some people have this problem too as well. Like presently, I have a colleague who is a community manager and at the same time is doing a 5-hour shift in the evening. So it can just be very stressful sometimes because it's like, oh, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about your show, and you're doing this 5 days a week too as well. Now, personally, for me, my own radio show is on Saturday and Sunday. So I have 2 days off within the week too as well. So I'm working 3 times a week and I'm doing Saturday and Sunday. So within the week, I'm doing 9 to 4 p.m. Sometimes I come in later than 9 if there's no interview to be shot by 9. So I tell myself within that 9 to 4 p.m., I'm going to try as much as possible to finish all my tasks so that it doesn't spill over to like 6 p.m. or a later time. And then, like I said, setting boundaries. Now, the way that the digital department and the boss that we have has made it such that it's also great to have a good boss. You too, when you become a boss someday, you need to take people into consideration. So the way he's made it is that everybody knows if you have something to do, bring it on time. If you bring something by 3:45 when you know that work closes at 4 p.m., they know that now some people will still try to do it, but now they know that, okay, if I bring it at 3:45, nobody is going to answer you because by 4 p.m. work has closed. And when we mean work has closed, sorry, we cannot do it. And sometimes you need to stand your ground. Tomorrow, bring it tomorrow because you're not going to keep me here. It just depends on where you find yourself, Sha. But try to set boundaries if possible so that it doesn't, that is not to say that sometimes like these situations will not occur where some things are brought in late, but you need to set boundaries so that it doesn't become a norm, like a regular occurrence. That way you'll be able to balance your time and have some time for yourself. So for me personally, this is how I'm able to manage it. So I know that my time is from 9 to 4 p.m. Once it's 4 p.m., I've carried my bag and I've gone home. Any video that is remaining tomorrow, we continue. If it's not something that needs to go out immediately, you also need to prioritize what are some things that can wait till another time. So as well, and some things that need to go out fast. Try as much as possible. I finish all my tasks on time. Sometimes I even finish it earlier. So if I finish it earlier, better for me, I go home earlier. Or I watch movies or something. So that's how me I'm able to do it. Well, if your own is 5 days a week or 6 days a week and you have to do both at the same time, well, find some time and prioritize different tasks throughout the day so it's not clashing. You don't wait until last minute to start doing everything at the same time. That's the advice I can give. Does that help?
It helps to an extent, but please, ma, very briefly, let me add this because when you were talking, you made mention of the importance of having a good boss, and that is quite remarkable. A good boss, a manager, that's quite remarkable for me. Now, ma, I know this is a little bit off the mark, but please, I work in a place where 6 days a week I'm running. And the media job requires a lot of mental stability because we are exercising a lot of nerves to make sure information is out there in the proper manner that it ought to. Please, I want you to, I don't know who else it might be in my shoes in this group right now, but having been in the media for say 8 years, like you rightly mentioned, you might have seen some of the ups and downs. Can you please tender some advice on how to handle a toxic work environment? Because I, as a TV presenter, have caught myself sleeping on a international TV, so to say, because I felt a lot of pressure coming from my workplace and it was so toxifying that I couldn't help it. But I resume work as early as 6, go home 11 p.m. and rest of that. So how can we handle some of this stress? Is it to quit or to be in the game with the tactics? Please, ma'am.
I don't know how to help you. Number one, find another work. If you can't, try and try if you cannot, because we understand how Nigeria is and how difficult it is. But shall have a plan and start making plans to try and exit that place because it will not be great for your mental health. But at the same time, while you're there, okay, what are the things that you can use to navigate a toxic workplace? For example, avoid getting into confrontation. If you know what, understand whoever it is as much as possible. Understand who see, people are different. The same way you follow one person is not the same way you're going to follow another person. So whoever your direct boss is, try and understand the type of person that he or she is, and know how you use wisdom and follow the person, so that you can avoid at least getting into some sort of trouble. Avoid office gossip too as well. When everybody is complaining and this one, as much as possible, you try and avoid it, because you don't know. Some of these people are nice to you. At the end of the day, you'll be shocked at the things that just goes on. So just, I don't know, really, I think the only advice I can give to you is work out a strategy on how you can make the best of where you are, and try to start putting feelers to see if you can work in some other place. Then try and understand the kind of person that you're working with, and then as much as possible do your job, so that nobody will come and use it and attack you or whatever. You work from 11 p.m. till that, it's so stressful. Find, or are there certain things that okay you could do to be able to ease your stress? Are there certain things that okay maybe you could have other people do for you? Because sometimes too as well, we take on way too many tasks, when maybe we can we might have people who can help us. Maybe, I don't know if there are interns there too as well, who you could actually trust with some of these responsibilities, but at the same time make sure that the work is being done. If you understand your boss and you find that, oh, if this type of thing is the type of thing that will probably make them flare up, avoid doing something that will make them flare up. Just, I don't know, really, I can't say. And find what makes you happy, because in this media industry that we are seeing, if you're looking at everything every day, you'd be so depressed. So at the end of the day, take out some time, maybe any free time you have, to try and see what it is that can make you happy, and once in a while just try and enjoy it. I don't know if this is helpful in any way.
It's a lifesaver, man. Thank you very much.
If it's not, I can still try to maybe figure out how you could do that. Is it possible for you to finish whatever it is that you're doing earlier, so that you don't have to? Because if you finish early now, somebody wants you to go home by 11 p.m. and they ask you, have you done this? Yes. Have you done this? Yes. Have you done this? Yes. When you do that consistently and they are looking at you like, okay, and even they themselves, they will know that I must be a wicked person to be keeping this person, when they finish everything that they are supposed to do. Just find how you follow whoever it is that you're working with wisdom. Study them very well. Study them very, very well. Then follow them like that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so anybody else?
Okay, Ma, I would like to ask, my name is Divine. I want to ask, what are your best and worst moments, and how did you cope with it?
Where?
No, I said I want to ask, what are your best and your worst moments, as in on radio?
Worst moments. I don't know. There are plenty. There are so many times when I make mistakes. It's like, oh my God. So I think maybe my best moments will probably be hearing that I got the job, because it's always been like a dream to work where I'm working. So that obviously was a best moment for me. Another best one too as well was when I found out that I had gotten the offer too as well to move to Lagos. And that was also another one too as well for me. And the first time that I actually came on air and spoke, it felt surreal. It felt like, oh, this wasn't happening. Um, there are people that I looked up to, people like Bemi, people like Tools too as well. And I think one of my best moments was probably doing a handover with Bemi. That felt great. And eventually getting to do Bemi shift, because she was on drive time for such a long time. That was equally great for me too as well, because for me personally, it felt like, wow, so it's possible to dream something and actually at go ahead. And the fact that I've always dreamt about it and it's happened, that just felt amazing. As for worst moments, I don't know. I make so many mistakes sometimes, even though sometimes people are like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. I can't exactly say which one is my worst moment, to be honest. I don't know which is my worst. There's no specific, I'll probably think about it, but right now um there's nothing specific that's coming to my head. Or maybe I would say it's something that happens regularly. It's when maybe I have to be out for something and then I have to do work the next day. So when you're going to work, it feels like, is this life? Why this? Why me, Lord? You know, you're driving to work early in the morning, everybody's sleeping, and it's probably raining, and you're like, Lord, why me? Why can't I just have money somewhere? Why do I have to do this? But times like this, I have to remind myself that I'm doing this not necessarily because of money, but it's because of something that I enjoy doing. And please don't let anybody lie to you when they tell you that, oh, follow your hobby and you'll never regret working. It's a lie. There are times where your hobby, you're working, you're living your dream, but you're tired. And it's like, oh my God. But at the end of the day, you still enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know if I would say there's anything worse, but there are obviously times when I don't enjoy the work. Or maybe sometimes at work when somebody speaks to you in some kind of way. And you're like, now maybe this guy, I don't suffer. But I mean, with patience and and as much as possible, not trying to add more fuel to the fire, trying to be diplomatic, because there are sometimes you see some kind of emails there. Sorry, excuse me. I think something is my throat. There are sometimes you see some kind of emails. The way that I want to reply. My God, if I reply the way I want to reply, but I have to like take a deep breath. I have to calm down, and then try as much as possible to reply in a professional manner, so that they will not say, you insulted this person or you were insubordinate, even though maybe the person deserved to be insulted. But I mean, I just try as much as possible to keep it professional. So I don't know which was my worst, really.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma.
Morrison, and your hand is up. Victoria.
Okay, good
I was
afternoon,
wondering
ma'am.
if you're not just this stuff. Hey, good afternoon to you too. Please, all this mama, you are calling me now. Wow, please go. Some of you, we might even be the same age mate. I dare go. Some of you even have more money than me.
We need to be formal right now, so good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my question is, in cause of researching about you, even though I wasn't able to get enough information, I got
Sorry,
to know
I'm
that.
not like Dangote yet. Don't worry, small time. You see info.
Okay, I got to know that you host a show on radio at the Beat FM 99.9 Port Harcourt, and
Yeah.
titled Morning Rush Port Harcourt.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been the host for a while now, I think up to 2018 thereabouts. So what were your challenges that you faced being able to keep up with this show up till this time, especially now that we are in an era of having the social media and other media available to us other than the radio? Because most people prefer using TV shows and social media rather than radio. I could remember before I joined this training, I informed an aunt that I want to go into this training, and she was like, why, what do you want to do with radio training? I thought that it's not all about radio, but it comprises of the media. And I'm also interested in running a podcast station, but I just need to take my time and set up everything. So that's why I'm going for the training. And she said it's not necessary. Podcasts are outdated and everything. So how do you cope doing what you did, what you've been doing up till now, and before you started adding videos and other things to your work?
Okay. Podcasts, first of all, don't mind your auntie. They are not outdated, okay? And they will never be. Radio too as well will never be outdated, and the media industry. Some radio stations equally have TV stations. They are combined. Some radio stations have gone out to the TV station. So at the moment, I'm no longer doing the morning rush, but I did that up until last year if I moved to Lagos. So one of the challenges, obviously, that I faced was because I was doing the morning shift personally. Nothing will make me in this life wake up by 5 a.m. All you people that are like early to rise, early to, that's not me. I'm not waking up by 6 a.m. for nobody. If I'm not working, I'm not waking up by, everybody knows that I sleep and I wake up late. If 10 a.m. has not reached, sorry, nobody should wake me up in the morning. So that was one of the major challenges, having to consistently wake up every single day to be at work at 6 a.m. so early in the morning, because I was not a morning person. But I knew it was the job that I signed up for, and I had to be responsible. So I had to come to that. I did not have a choice whether I like it or not. That was my shift, so I had to make it work. And yes, knowing that yes, people are digital and this one and that one of the things that I try to do, me and my co-host too as well, Spaceman, who is somebody that I learned a lot from too as well, was knowing what the people that wake up in the morning want to listen to. That's something that, which is why I said prepping. I always prep for my show, no matter how, before I go on air. Trust me, I know what it is that I'm going to say throughout the whole day, and maybe the night before I've researched what's happened. So I try as much as possible to be relatable on radio, and bear in mind that this thing that I'm talking about, somebody out, the person listening has probably already read it somewhere or has probably already seen it on Instagram. So if I was going to tell the story, so if I was going to tell the story, I would try as much as possible to keep it short and go straight to the point, because chances are this thing that I'm saying, they have seen it online. If I saw it on Instagram, I will say, oh, I saw it on Instagram. And as much as possible, we try to incorporate things that we are trending, things that we know that people were talking about. So someone else's mic is on, so you try and off your mic. So if somebody if something was on was trending, gospel, is it you that they're making noise in the background?
No, ma, it's not me.
Adekunle, please turn off your mic. Okay, so if I don't know whose mic is on, but it's a little distracting.
Adekunle, please, your mic is interfering with our lecture, please.
Okay, so yes, because I know that, okay, chances are that everybody has seen this thing. So how am I going to talk about it differently? That's what I try to do. And then we try as much as possible to bring in trending topics so as well. Oh, there was this video on Instagram. We don't know if you've seen it. And sometimes that video that was trending is probably already on our own Instagram page, just in case somebody has not seen it. Oh, there was a funny video. If you head over to the Beat 999 FM now, you see the video. Then you now proceed to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. So some of the things that we just tried to do was to keep it short, keep it interesting, and try not to bore people, because I mean, they can easily go somewhere else to get their music, to get their news. Stay up to date too as well. The music, if there was new song from Wizkid coming out tomorrow, as soon as it drops, I make sure that, yes, we have to have it on our show so that people know that they can come here for new music. Because I mean, they can easily go to Apple and play the song, but they can also, if they tune into the radio, they know that, yes, they can still get this music too as well here. So those are some of the things that we try to do to keep it going for as long as the 4 years that we were able to do it. So every morning is not the same. Every day is not the same. There's always something different to talk about. There's always something different to do. People are always releasing new music. There's just always something happening. So I try to stay up to date. I tried to make sure that I was involving the audience as much as possible. Oh, and then there were giveaways too as well that happen on radio. People love giveaways. I think maybe these are some of the things that we incorporated. And as much as possible, we try to be real. If something was happening, we say it as it is, not trying to package or anything. If we made mistakes, we also shared them too as well. We shared some of the things that were going on in our life too as well. Sometimes we even put ourselves off and people would laugh at us, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I guess maybe people liked it enough, so they always tune in every morning.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, please start your podcast. So
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
so many people doing, even celebrities are doing podcasts now. So don't listen, podcast is not outdated. You can add the visual aspect of it too as well. It's fine.
Okay, thank you for the advice, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, cool. Anybody else? Gospel, your hand is up. I don't know if it's a new one or the old one.
Yes, ma. It's a new question, ma.
Cool.
Ma, concerning interviews and generating questions for public opinion. Please, how do you carve out questions that will defeat personal bias and also generate meaningful and societal answers? Because I think some people are always very emotional in a certain topic. Like you say, okay, probably Tinubu is going for election, and then someone is like, that man no go. But maybe that's not the answer you're looking for. But how can you cover questions that will help generate public interest answers? Thank you, ma.
This is a question is struggle. It's societal. Okay, so I mean, if you're interviewing somebody and they are not answering your question, you need to ask the question again until the person answers your question. You have to ask, maybe you're asking something and they've answered you and you're going off topic. You can cut them in and say, I know this, what you're saying is making sense or whatever. You cut them off in a polite manner, actually, but this is not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is this. You can ask it in a different manner too as well, to ensure that the question that you're trying to ask has been answered. So yeah, I mean, also too as well, how can you cover questions? Well, you look at the topic that it is that you want to talk about on air, or the person you want to interview. Now, you as a person, what are some things that you would want to know from this person? You write it down. What are some questions that maybe people have been asking about this person that you know that people want to know? You also write it down. Do you understand? And then don't be afraid to ask them those direct questions. And no matter how well, sometimes if maybe the question is too loaded and you wanted to break the ice, you could say, a listener sent in this question. The listener did not send in this question. No, it's you that is asking the question. But let it not be that, oh, it's me that is asking this very distinct, or maybe it's a controversial topic. Another person is asking it and wanted to know. So that way, they're like, oh, you're not the one asking this controversial thing. Or sometimes you can just go ahead and be direct. So you need to find out, in order to be able, what do people want to know? And then write those questions down and go ahead and ask it. And if your questions are not answered, ask them in a different way until they are answered. So let me use these Big Brother people for example now. Now, if let's say somebody like I don't know if people watch Big Brother. Me, I've not even been following it like that. Let's say if somebody like Shex or Bella or who are those people that are trending, if they were to come out of the house, what would you like to ask them? It's a interactive something. You people can answer me.
Well, madam, for me, I would like to ask them if there is any apart from the financial benefit, if there's any personal benefits that they have in terms of morale that they have gained from partaking in the Big Brother.
Okay. And then what are some questions that you think that plenty people will be interested in knowing?
Can I answer?
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I guess people want to know how their ship started and if anyone ended, why it ended. Again, if they want to even continue after and outside the house.
Okay. So yeah, these are some great questions. One, you need to put yourself in the mind of the listener. What would they like to know from this interview? So that will enable you to be carve out your questions so that the interview is relatable and the interview doesn't end up boring. And sometimes as well, you can also post it on your platform and say, oh, I have so and so person as a guest. Do you have any questions for them? And sometimes in the comments, you might even see some questions that were originally not what you planned to ask them, but are still very valid questions. That also gives you an idea of what people want to know. So those will help you with your questions when doing an interview. Anybody else? Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, ma. Thank you, ma.
You're welcome. Anyone else? If there's no one else asking any questions, maybe you people can tell me if there's anything that you learned.
Hello, ma. Good afternoon.
Hi, Jane.
Please, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Please, as a beginner in the field, we that are just starting, how do we create value content that can last over time? Should I take it again?
Yes, some content that can last over time. Well,
time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, really. It's a question you have to also ask yourself too. What is something that for so many years to come, you think people would be interested in? But the thing with radio too as well is that something new happens every day. So, I mean, will a particular piece of information last over time? Chances are probably no, but chances are that may be a time that when somebody will need to dig it up. So I think maybe what you need to do is whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you are thorough, because being thorough in it and putting in your best can be able to create content that will be valuable, so that let's say 10 years down the line now, like something comes up and then somebody remembers that, oh, you know what, 10 years ago somebody actually addressed this topic, and then they will now go back and search wherever it is they search, because sometimes that happens too as well. And we do that. We now go back for reference that in 2018 this person conducted this interview and this happened, and then this is 2020, maybe there's new information that's come up, this is the situation now. Because sometimes you see that, let's say for example, a politician says something in 2018 saying, oh, I will provide rice, then you now come in 2022 and then you're hearing beans, this one, and you don't necessarily need it. Now you now go back to somebody that see, this person did this interview, you now dig up the video, you dig up where the article and say, and quote the person and say, this was what this person said in 2018. How come in 2022 it has changed? And that's really how news is. So like whatever it is that you're doing, in order to create value, you need to be thorough. You need to make sure that you are doing the work very well. You also need to make sure that it's something that people would be interested in. It's something that will educate, it's something that will inform or maybe entertain whoever your audience is. That way, you are creating value that will last for a long time, because there are so many times where you have an experience on radio that some after years later you'll be talking about it. You'll be like, I remember one day on radio like this, so and so time ago, that maybe there was a game show that was played. Somebody now came and answered the question. Sometimes, like you remember these things, maybe like when you were young. I remember one night like this when this happened, or maybe there was like a particular program on radio that happened and it was explosive. And like 3 years later, people are recalling that night. And that the only, or that day or that program on radio, the only reason why that is happening is because, first of all, the person who is a presenter took their time out to do some research to craft a program that they thought would be entertaining to their audience. So you have to put in the work, number one, first of all, to be able to create value.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
You're welcome.
Hello, ma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Calvin.
Please, there's a question in the chat session.
In the chat session, where is the chat session? If a big news breaks while you're covering a show on air, how do you go about that? Does it mean you let that go since the timing will be right because you'll be posting it late eventually? If a big news breaks, while you're covering a show on air, are you talking for 1 full hour? I'm pretty sure that you can quickly take a break, maybe play a sweeper or play a song. So if that big news breaks, you just quickly that has happened several times while we were on radio. There's a big story that has broken. So you just quickly take a break, maybe play some music if you're in a station that allows you to play music. If you're in a talk radio station, you can just maybe play some sweepers and then confirm from your news department or your reporter this story. And then sometimes you don't even have the full details. So once you confirm that this is legit news, you go back to your show and announce this has just happened. And then you now say more details coming later. So that way, now you have broken the news. People know about it. They know the headline, but they are still expecting you to come up with more details. So you carry on with your show while the reporter or the news person or you yourself probably does. Are you the same person, the big news? Are you the same news person that, except you're the same person doing everything, then maybe wait until after your show or maybe take a break and research more about it. But usually the news person is different from, so you break the news while the person gets more info, and as you progress on your show, you now give them info as you get it as it happens. And sometimes when there's big news like that, whatever show that it is that you're doing, especially if it's important, that has happened so many times, it just displaces the entire program because this is a huge story. So you just come on air and say, oh, so this is this thing, but this has just happened and we are following the story right now as it progresses. That is also normal, and that happens. If what is a scripted show?
He meant Big Brother Ninja.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, they want to know if it's a scripted show. What's their biggest challenge in oh yeah, I believe I also already answered this question. So yeah, you think about the the audience, what they would like to know, and then ask those questions. Yeah, I think I answered that already. Does it answer your question? The big news break person.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have a question so that I mean, I should start calling out names one by one. Oh yeah, you people should tell me, what did you learn today? Let me see all the people that have not
Well,
spoken to me.
good afternoon. So far,
Good afternoon.
what I learned today was when he spoke about the guy that work on in a radio station from, I think he was saying 8 to 11, and there was a time I was even working somewhere and my boss was just all over me, and in a way I reacted badly.
Okay.
Somehow, I wish I had this kind of experience to just let him go.
Okay. Well, maybe if you find yourself in that position again, you'll do things differently.
And sure, I think I will handle things better this time around.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let me see. I'm going to call people now. Olubumi Nasiru. Bumi. See, some people are not paying attention though. Bumi is not responding. Okay, Treasure. Hi, Bumi.
Good afternoon, Mas. I'm sorry, I
Uh-huh.
had problem of muting my mic.
That's okay. Anything you'd like to say?
No, I
Okay.
don't have anything to say. I enjoyed
Okay,
it.
well, no problem then. All right, Chibueze, I think your mic is, or you want to say something, or do we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just want to say that I've learned a lot from you. At least one of the things that I've learned is that when I'm working on radio or in digital world, I should try to be very, very real. And I learned that I should try to be real.
To be
Try
what?
to be real, to be real.
Real. Okay.
To be real. As in, I'll try as much as possible to be almost perfect in what I'm doing, present myself the way I am, and present the issues the way they are, and as well as to schedule my time, manage my time management, and I should also learn to be the ability to put in enough in my work, so at the end of the day I'll be able to have a very great content.
Okay, well,
Thank
that's
you.
great. You're welcome. Sahid Olayinka, your hand is up.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. In the course of the lecture, I understand that determining target audience will help to prioritize valuable content.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Best man.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think I learned a lot, but not much then because of my network is disturbing. But I think for you to be as a broadcaster, you should have a willingness to learn, and at least you should know a little bit of everything. Have the ability to work fast and have constantly update your skills. Find reputable news sources, to get the news that are right. And you need to think about trends, to create for a content creator. Thank you.
You're welcome. Treasure Udede. I hope I said your name right. It's like all the girls in this group are very shy. People don't want to talk. Girl, Victoria, your hand is up.
Okay, I was able to learn in this class that as a broadcaster, before you should share any information, verify it. And not just hearing from you alone. I've always heard from my lecturers in school. I have one lecturer that always hit on it. Most times they'll say there's no class, and the man didn't say anything like that. So he was always hitting on us to verify information. So it was like a challenge, always having him hit on us. But now you've made it clear that before you make any information to the general public, you need to verify properly. And
Yeah.
that's one. Secondly, to be able to prioritize my task, set boundaries, and also the willingness to learn. These are just few of what I've learned.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you too for listening. Also, yes, it's very, very important actually. It's one of the most important things about verifying news, because I remember there was one example that they gave one time about, I think, I think maybe it was even Mr. Sami that shared with us or something. I can't remember, something about an OAP going on air because he just saw it online. Said whether Choba Bridge was shaking, or Choba Bridge was collapsing, or what. The person quickly rushed on air without verifying and said that there was now panic everywhere. So that caused a lot of problem, because in truth, the bridge wasn't shaking, or neither was it collapsing or anything like that. But you've already shared that news to radio where millions of people are listening. So yeah, that was very, very bad. So you need to verify. And also, when you find out that, okay, the information that you have shared may not be so accurate, it's also up to you too as well to come back and update the listener and say, oh, I made a mistake. This is what it truly is. I did not have the full facts. But as much as possible, try to have a full facts of whatever situation that you have, because sometimes too as well, maybe certain news story might break out and then another party might come and say this is what happened. When the other party comes out to say, let's say what would I use now, let's say Olamide and Wizkid got into a fight. Now somebody shares an account of the story and you say that on air, maybe the other person comes out and says this is not what happened. It's also up to you to keep updating the information until you make sure it's as accurate as possible. So yes, verification of whatever news that you put out is very, very important, because I don't know, for you people, how many times have you heard something and you be like, no, I'm going, especially with ASU strike or whatever, you probably see it online, ASU has called off strike, but you be like, I have to listen to 6 p.m. news today to make sure that it is true. And then you probably turn on the radio or turn on the TV to hear whether they said anything about them calling off ASU strike. If they don't say it in the news, now you'll be arguing with your roommates, it's a lie. I know here I'm for news. Or maybe if you heard it in the news and the person was saying it's not true, they have not called off, you'll be like, it's a lie. I heard it in the news. They have called it off. They said it in the news today. What gives you that confidence is the fact that you are so sure that the person on radio or the person on TV is telling the absolute truth. So that is why you owe it so much to your audience, because they look up to you to verify whatever it is that you are sharing and making sure that it is accurate. Awesome, Emmanuel. Oh, your name is awesome. I like it. Awesome. I can't hear you. It seems you're saying something, but I cannot hear what you're saying.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's not. It's more like it. There was a time during the class where you were like, like during the class, there was a time where like have shows on Fridays where like you'll come back by 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. and then you have to be on air by 5:30.
Mm-hmm. Now I have to be on air by 6, but I have to leave the house by like 5:30 or so. Yeah.
Okay. My question is like, how will you? How are you able to navigate such situations? Like,
Sometimes I cry. When I cry, I feel better. I cry,
okay,
I
so
clean
like,
my eyes.
how were you able to like? Were you sleeping? How you cope in such situations?
No, I was not sleeping well at all. But I mean, the job has to be done. So yeah, but that's the thing. It's not like it's something that happens all the time. So it doesn't happen. It's not like it happens every Friday. Do you get? So on some Fridays, maybe during December now, where there are a lot of events where it happens back to back. And then sometimes you just get so overwhelmed. So how do I get? Sometimes crying helps. I cry, I clean my eyes, I go on radio, and I sound very happy to be there today. But I know that okay, I'm doing this for a reason. It's just the feeling of being overwhelmed that happens because by the time you let out your frustration, it helps you feel like somewhat better. And then I listen to music too as well. But I ensure that once my show is done, if it's not important at all, maybe somebody wants to call you to go out for one unnecessary outing, if it's not important, I'm coming home straight to rest because rest is important. Now, for me personally, I don't know about other people, and I think generally for most broadcasters, the rest is actually very important. Me personally, if I don't get enough of rest over time, I find that when I'm on air, I make so many mistakes. When I'm talking, I will be stuttering. When I'm talking, I'll be forgetting things I'm saying simply because I haven't slept very well. And this is something that has happened maybe like an entire week. So that's why rest is so important. It's so important for me, it's for my brain, for my voice too, as well. Generally, people need rest. So that's just how I'm able to navigate. I've accepted it that okay, this is my life, and I this is what I signed up for. Is like a musician who has to go on tour back to back performing at different shows. It's just what I signed up for, so I just try to find a way to make it work. So I also try to find the type of this thing that any outing that I'm going to accept, knowing that I have work the same day. And then let's say some of these events, if you go there and you've gotten the main content that you need, you don't have to stay till the end. That's also another thing you tell yourself, because some people might get carried away and stay till the end, maybe because one person or the other, you want to watch them. You can always watch them another time. You have to prioritize yourself first. As long as you've gotten the main thing that you need, the main content that you need. If the show is ending by 2 a.m. and say by like 10 p.m., you have gotten the main content that you need for your work, go home. You have work the next day. There will always be events that will happen for you to see these people. You don't have to stay. But if it turns out that, okay, I had to stay till 2 a.m. to get whatever content that I need, well, I have to go to work the next day. So I will try as much as possible to see. Sometimes some of my colleagues, for instance, they sleep in the office. Personally, I don't like to sleep in the office. So they sleep in the office because the show is just in a few hours and they don't want to go home and oversleep. So they sleep in the office so that once it's 6 a.m., since it's just 3 hours to your show anyway, once it's 6 a.m., they do their shift, they go home and then they take a shower, they rest. So this is how I'm able to navigate it. Emeka, your hands up. Sorry,
Yes, my hand is up.
answer your
Good
question.
afternoon. Hello, ma.
Awesome. Does this answer your question? Emeka,
Hello?
sorry, I'll get Emeka, I'll get to you in a moment. Awesome. Does this answer your question? Okay, Awesome's not speaking. Emeka, go ahead then.
Okay, I want to
Okay,
just
yes,
make a
yes,
little
yes, it
contribution.
does.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I said it does, it does.
No problem. Emeka, go ahead.
And talking about credibility, I think one thing it has is sometimes credibility of news gives us an insight on actually what is going on behind the scene. For example, I'm a sport person. I follow football a lot. Whenever I see a news from maybe Daily Mail, The Athletics, or some certain journalists like David Oistin, I find a way to just jump on that news because I know I will learn a lot on behind the scene, what is going around the club or whatever they're writing on. But there are some sites I usually see, like maybe for example, cut up site. There's no way I even want to even get the news from them because I know most times they just report the news and I don't know. It is not even true. They just report something they just feel from their head or thereabout.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you. Your hand is up.
I want to ask, sometimes, as radio personnel, you have personal problems, So, there are sometimes problems do come, challenges, but how can you, like before going on radio, what will you do to let your voice not, replicate your problem, on radio? Let it not show on your voice.
Okay, so that is a great question. And I promise you that has, sorry, just give me 1 minute. All right. Okay, so yes, like I said, that is a great question. I'm telling you, see, once you come on radio, that's the thing. People are tuning to you because they want to escape their problems. So oftentimes, now there are so many times where I promise you, I do not sound like what I am feeling, but this is where being a professional comes in. Me, what do? I take in a deep breath and then I smile. It's a fake smile. It's not a real smile. I smile and pretend that I am happy. So for the time that I am talking, I just have to try and sound excited. So at that point, you have to be an actor too, as well. Be an actress. Put your acting skills to test and just forget your problems, because once that mic comes on, you owe it to the listener. So there's been so many times where a lot of us OAPs get bad news or we have some personal stuff going on. In fact, if you see the way that we walk in that day, everybody knows that something is wrong. But when you listen on radio, it sounds like we do not have any problems at all. That is because you're trying as much as possible to pass across. And that's why it is also tasking for you as the OAP to prioritize yourself. Right? There are so many times where my stomach, in fact, that one happened recently on Saturday. My tummy was paining me like really badly, right? But I almost called my PD to say, listen, I can't do the show anymore. But I said, you know what, let me just try, because it's happened constantly over the years. So I'm clutching my stomach, right? And I'm in pain. But I'm talking on radio and you're hearing me and you think that I'm happy and I'm excited. No, that's because I am trying as much. You know what? Let's even do a fake exercise. Let's do an exercise right now. You asked me the question. So if you were to say, I got money today in an excited voice, even though you did not get any money, how would you say it?
I got money today.
Like pretend to be very excited that you just got money that you were not expecting. Somebody just credited you 10K.
Okay, I got money today.
So did you get any money?
Nope.
But if you're going to say it, you're going to sound as if you're excited. That's the same thing that happens with radio too as well. So I'm going through problems, but at the same time, when I'm on radio, I just pretend for a moment that everything is okay. And you know what? Personally, for me, it's also sort of therapeutic, because once I turn on that mic temporarily, even as I'm talking to you, I personally forget that, okay, I have something going on with me. And what I owe it right now is this information I'm about to pass across. So I just throw myself into that information I'm about to pass across. So temporarily I forget. But when the mic goes off, is now back to reality. It's like, oh, and you know what? Sometimes at the end of the day, by pretending to be fake happy, by the time even said that you're done with your show, it's happened so many times to me, you actually feel a lot happier than when you came in, because interacting with people and hearing them laugh or maybe or whatever also made you laugh too as well, and made you at the end of the day also made, so it's give and take. So one of the things I try to do is know that the listener, sometimes you can even share your problems too as well with the people, saying that, okay, this is why I don't sound so good today. You can be honest with them, but it doesn't have to be something that is a norm, because people are going through their own problems. Imagine turning on the radio and the radio presenter is in a boring voice telling you about all their problems and how they are the person that have suffered the most in this life. I'm not sure you want to listen to that, would you?
No.
Yeah, so you just try to fake it and go back to reality. Facts, even sometimes as well, you might even be arguing with your co-presenter, but listen, that mic is sacred. As soon as that mic comes, whatever problems or arguments, if you hate the person that is next to you, you have to throw it aside and treat that microphone as like professionally. Once it comes on, the people don't care that you people are having problems. You have to sound professional. So there are times too where you and your co-host hot arguments like this in the distance, but you people have to go on air. You just take a deep breath and then you people laugh, and then you hear the, oh my darling co-host, like this. They are laughing on radio. People would not know that they were fighting. As soon as that mic goes off, they'll look at each other and sigh at his idiots. They call this person names and all of that. That just is a thing that you need to learn to be a professional. So you have to act it out regardless of whatever problems you're going through. Keep your problem in the house, or let your problem wait until after you're done talking on air. There are times when you've heard about newscasters who are currently reading the news, and the person probably got a text message that their mom died. But because they owe it to be a professional, they will finish that news and then go break down. There was a time that my friend died, but I still had to go on air too as well. I mean, it is what it is. Does anybody else want to try? Assalam, okay, go ahead and try.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, okay.
Will that do?
Hmm?
Will that go?
Yeah.
Okay. Communication today is digital. Everything we do about communication right now is digital. I've come to learn that lesson. As well, that people's attention span is very short. Hence, you need to keep your audience entertained. To achieve that, you need to know your audience and then know what is of relevance to the audience. And then you give them exactly that information, because their span is short. So your information should be correct, direct, straight to the point.
Okay then. Well done.
Okay.
John, your hand is up.
Yes, ma. Sorry, ma. I don't know. I have some questions, please.
Ask.
Okay, ma. I want to take us a bit back to the interview session that we earlier had. Where I was at that time, I couldn't ask this question because it was noisy. Ma, I don't know. I have seen that asking some kind of questions, maybe to most of these politicians to put a kind of threat. I want to ask, why so? Does the journalist not have the right to ask any kind of question? I'm saying this recalling what happened either 2 years ago, where Fani Kayode was going about everywhere And I think during a certain press conference, a journalist asked a question, who is bankrolling you? And we know what really happened, and that almost engulfed the whole country, the reaction of the former minister. So I don't know, why must reporters have be receiving these threats when they ask some certain questions? That is one. Two, ma.
Wait, let me start with one first,
Okay.
because if you ask two, I might forget to. Let me answer this one that you want. Okay, so yes, you have a right to. Yes, you have a right as a reporter to ask questions, but at the same time, the person that you're asking question is a human being. So just because you're a reporter doesn't mean that you can just go ahead and ask any question. You have to be mindful of the person that you're asking question and respect them as well. So you can ask a question, right? But how are you asking this question? Is the way you're asking the question in a disrespectful manner? That is another thing. Are you being mindful of the person that you ask? Are you taking them into consideration, or you're just asking them questions anyhow because you feel like, oh, I'm a reporter, you have to answer no, actually they don't have to answer your question. They can decide, they are at liberty not to answer, they can decide not to, but they might be willing to answer you depending on the way that you ask that question. Now, for instance, who is bankrolling you? Now let's do an exercise. Is there a better way that that question could have been phrased such that it would have come out, you would have been asking the same thing, but it would have come out in a nicer way? How would you phrase it differently, John Peters?
I just think that the journalist had
No,
a
I'm
free.
asking you, how would you phrase it differently?
Okay, I think it would have been better of saying. I don't really know, but because I just feel that question was put in proper perspective. Who is sponsoring this movement? Who is controlling you? I think it's just the same thing. So I'm just seeing Fanika Yode as being, I'm sorry to use the word, arrogant.
Okay, we're not.
And
Hold on. Okay, we're not here to talk about how a particular person's character is or what. We're just here to learn. So I mean, if you feel like he's like that, that's okay. But it still boils down to the same thing that I was saying. If you're going to ask a question, how are you asking this question? You need to know. Can anybody else here tell me? Can anybody else here tell me how maybe you can ask that question differently? That is not to say maybe the way, I need to go back and watch that clip. That is not to say that maybe the way the question was asked was wrong or whatever. But sometimes some people ask questions and you can tell that the way they ask this question is disrespectful. So let's do an exercise. Who else can phrase that question in a different way?
Okay, let me try. Could it be better off saying, is there anybody behind this your nationwide tour? Yes.
Or could I'm okay, you know what, before I answer that, let somebody else try. Answer them. You want to try?
Yes, let me try.
Okay, go
Let me
ahead.
try. Okay. Sir, you are a member of X party. Yes, actually, no. Now you've been on this for this while. Do you think that people won't think that you're being sponsored by anybody?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and let me see.
Yes, I would say, sir, what is the motivating factor behind this your tour?
But how does that answer the question
Yes,
about where he's getting? It won't bring out the question about where he's getting the money from now. Okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead. Does anybody else want to try before I try?
I want to try.
Okay, go ahead.
You can ask, like, is this your nationwide tour? Like the financial backing of anyone? It's a personal project.
Okay, that is also good as well. Now, okay, thank you all very much for trying. Everybody has tried. Now, you could also do something, for instance, to try and couch it to make it nicer. That is not to say that some people are cutthroats too as well and very direct with their questions. That could also be their style. But you could also ask something like, oh, running a campaign can be very you can say you've been doing this for some time, going from place to place. I'm just using this as a loose example. Do you get? You've been doing this for some time, running a campaign, and we know how this can. It certainly this must cost a lot of money. How are you able to keep the funds going? Do you understand? For you to be able to run your campaign and to be able to reach this much people, something like that. So that way you're acknowledging that, oh, it costs a lot of money. And then it seems like, oh, you're putting yourself in their shoes. And you could even make it personal too as well and be like, oh, I know that when I went from so to so place, I spent this amount of money and this is how much it cost me. And I know that for you, it must not be easy. And this must cost quite a fortune, printing this, doing that, and doing that. How are you able to keep the funds coming? Do you have help from somebody else? Do you understand? Does that make any sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, John, does that make sense? Hello?
Hello, man. Yes, seriously, you've made a whole lot of sense, man. Okay?
Okay.
But as I said, I have another question, please.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Talking about program presentation, let me say, like 2, 3 weeks ago, there is this particular radio station in Port Harcourt. I listened to a particular program on that radio station. It's an everyday program from Monday to Friday. And there are two ladies. A particular lady among the two, some time ago, had, I think, what I should call a serious cough that affected her voice, the production of her voice. And she still used that ugly voice, so to speak. Of course, she was not the cause of this on the program. And I was like, why can't she just take a break now until when this issue, when the cough is okay, so she can, when the voice is okay, so she can come back. Somebody told me no, she has to prove to the cough that she's more superior than the cough. But to me, it was not sounding well on air. Man, is it professionally okay to do such, using such a voice on air that everybody is listening to? Thank you, man.
Well, you cannot, like you said, it's not her fault that the voice is sounding like that because life happens. So, because life has happened to you, does that mean you're not going to do your job? Let's say that you were not working in radio, for example. You were working in a bank, for instance, and your voice was lost. Would that stop you from coming to work? That is also similar to radio. Yes, the person might sound different. That has happened several times to some of my colleagues where they lost their voice. It doesn't really sound good sometimes. That's when the person who, especially if it's somebody that, like you said, the people listening know that this is not her regular voice, right? So by now, the person has built like a listenership audience, and they know, and they also know, the person listening also knows that you can fall ill at any time. You just still have to do your job. That I have cough and I lost my voice doesn't mean what you need to focus on is not unprofessional to carry on, but is what I'm saying making sense regardless of how my voice sounds? Is what I'm saying educative regardless of what my voice sounds? Are you gaining information from that regardless of how my voice sounds? Because in a few days my voice is going to get better too as well. And that's why as OAPs too as well, you need to try to protect your voice. But still, no matter how you protect it, drinking water and all of that is still going to happen. So is it unprofessional? No, it isn't. They're actually being professional by still trying to do their job, regardless of their cough or their illness. So yeah, it's really not unprofessional. The person was trying as much as possible to make it work. What you were listening to, what you were listening to, were they making sense in what they were saying? You focus on the information at hand, really, not the times like that, not the voice, or you send them a message to get well soon. Okay, so I believe that's all, right?
Yes, we assume.
Because no one else is saying anything. Vincent Diamond, Sam Victor Joseph, I'm calling out all of you. Joy, Chuku Divine, I believe Chuku spoke today. Clifford Kienka. I hope everyone is okay. So if no one else has anything else to say, maybe we can call it a day.
Ma, we have questions in the chat box.
Hey, I know you should ask me this thing. Now let me go to the chat box and see. Okay, you're in a noisy environment, all right? What's your hack to avoid a husky voice if I handle back-to-back events as an MC? Me, thank God though, my voice not dey too crack like that, so I really don't have a hack like that, but it just usually maybe cracks if I have a cold sometimes. So, but it goes away almost quickly. I'm not the best person to give. Maybe you can ask somebody like Amanda. Yeah. So try as much as possible to give your voice a rest. That's what maybe I would say. Personally, I don't usually have that issue, so I can't say I have a hack. But if I have a cold or I feel one coming on, because it used to give you sign in your throat, once I start to feel like my throat is scratching me, I don't let it get to the point where I start coughing. Immediately, I start with my ginger and hot water because I don't want to hear that something has happened. Ginger and hot water, Strepsils, trying to talk less. Those are some things that for me I do. But usually, I don't have a husky voice, even though I go and shout up and down. It doesn't really go like that. So now that you've understood yourself, how your voice gets cracked if you handle back-to-back events as an MC, you can try to see how you can space these events if possible. Or after these events, maybe get Strepsil, hot water and honey, whatever, liquids, hot liquids to suit your voice back. Let's see. I think that's the only question here. Is there another question? I think that's the only one I'm seeing here. Okay. Vincent says, have you been called out on air by a listener before? Actually, yes, I have. That happened once. How did I handle it? Okay, so that happened once. At first I was a little bit offended, and then later I started to think about it, because that's the thing about radio, you learn every day. So at the time when I was, this was when I first started in radio, I was in Today FM. So it was a Sunday show, right? Wait, I'll get to this raw experts, but hold on. So I was doing a Sunday, or I was doing a show on Sunday, and then a listener sent in a text message describing something sexually related. So I read it out. So somebody called me on air to say, why would I talk like that, or why would I read something out like that? That do I not know that that they have children in the car too as well listening to this? Can't you even censor that? So I told the person, I think on air, I said, okay, thank you for your feedback, and then I cut the call immediately. I was about to get upset, but later I thought about it and I was like, you know what, that's actually quite true. Could I have read this message in a different way? I examined the message as well, because at the time I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, but I examined it. And that's also another thing too as well, when you're an on-air personality, you should do when you're trying to read out, because sometimes reading out messages people send, it's not you that is saying it though, but I mean, it can also put you in trouble. So when you're passing across the information, is there a way that it can be censored so that even if a child was listening, it wouldn't be, especially in an hour where, especially if the show is not in the midnight where you know that, okay, this is adult radio content. So especially the time of day, for example, if I'm doing a show early in the morning, how would I say things, you know? So that day I just thought about what the person said, and that was a teachable moment for me. So I now started to pay attention. I think that helped me because this thing was in my mind for like 2 or 3 days. Still they prepare me. But I said, you know what? I saw that they had a point. So going forward, that helped me to when I'm reading out stuff or when I'm saying something, I have to bear in mind that, hey, it's possible that a child could be listening or something could be happening. How can I say this thing better? Rather than being very raw, because the person called me out for being raw and all. So yeah, I think that it was just that once that happened. Apart from that, I don't think I've ever been called out on air before. Mostly because another thing too as well, most of our calls are recorded, but I've never really been called out on air because I don't know, I guess people like me. And well, I don't do things that will make them call me out too. So yeah. Or maybe I'm not a celebrity enough. Celebrities, they like to call out plenty. We shall see. Vincent, if that answers your question, let me know in the comments. So Mecca is saying, I hear people drink raw eggs. I don't know. I don't know. I find this disgusting. Drinking raw eggs. One can drink raw eggs now and get salmonella or some sort of bacteria from it. But I don't know if raw eggs work. I've heard people say it works. I have never done it. I will never do it. So, oh, no. I want to know, if you have a really terrible voice, does therapy, do they really help? Well, I mean, since therapy is professional help, maybe it might help. I personally have never tried therapy. Maybe you can find out from somebody who has done voice therapy before, but I assume, it's supposed to help. Because you know what? You can actually train your voice. It's very possible. So there's a roommate that I had that did a training one time in this one radio training. So when she now sends a voice note of herself reading the news, I was so shocked because that did not sound like her at all. She sounded so nice. Her words were enunciated perfectly. Like you could not even tell that this was the same person that you knew. So it can help. I don't know. Maybe it could. You can try it. You can do some research. You can go online to find out if therapy helps. I don't know. But it's possible to train your voice, Sha. I believe that's all. No?
Hello, please. Is there any other questions for our lecturer? John Peters, your hands are still up. Is it former hand or new hand?
Oh, sorry about that, please. Sorry about that. I think the old one.
Hello, ma.
I'm here.
Ma, I think everyone, since no one is I think maybe we're done with our questions. And okay, there's a hand up. Emeka Tonye. Emeka Tonye, please proceed with your question.
Okay, ma'am. I want to know, have you ever been in a program that, or maybe when you were starting up and you were stage fright?
Hello?
How did you sell scenarios or person? Thank you. I'm asking about when maybe you are starting up and you are stage fright or something. How do you overcome it?
I took a deep breath, and it actually happens. And to be honest, even till now, even after my 8 years, sometimes it still happens that I get nervous on air. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, am I talking rubbish? That's that tiny voice that comes. But I try to put it aside, and then I focus on the information I'm trying to pass across. So yes, how did I handle it? First of all, I took a deep breath. Then there is also something to as well that I learned over time. The person that you're talking to on radio, just pretend that you're talking to one person, not so many people at the same time. Because when you start thinking about so many people at the same time, it makes you even more nervous. So pretend that the person that you're talking to is just one person, because really when somebody is listening to you, you are talking to one person at a time, but they just happen to be in different locations. So now imagine that that one person is your guy, your friend, do you understand, in the room with you, your roommate or your classmate or your very close friend. So now, if you are going to say this thing that you wanted to say, how would I tell my guy this info? So I pretend that the person is my guy. I'll now share the info like I would share it with my guy. And that kind of helps to make me less nervous. And two, the person listening, they are not bigger than you. I also remind myself that they are not bigger than you, neither are they God or whatever. They are just human beings like me. So I'll just take a deep, very, very deep breath, look at the info again that I'm about to pass across to make sure that I know it. Take a deep breath and then turn on the mic and go. Even if I'm shaking as I'm talking, I try not to let it. That's where, once again, acting comes into play, right? Because, like I said, being an OAP is also like being an actor, but this time it's with your voice. So I'm pretending like I'm not nervous, but I am so nervous. But on air, I'm trying as much as possible not to let it show. I try to sound confident, let it not sound like my voice is shaking, and you can tell that I'm very nervous. And then sometimes your nervousness will show too as well on air. That's okay. You make mistakes all the time. You move on from it, and I'll just tell myself that okay, so this last air check did not go how I planned. No problem. I'm going to try and redeem myself in the next one. And then I try not to overthink because I find that overthinking what I'm about to say also makes me nervous and also makes me make mistakes. So I try not to overthink it. So I made a mistake in the last one. I'm like, oh my God, maybe people, I'm like, you know what, whatever. It has happened, it has happened. So the next one, I try to make it better. If it's not better, the next one, I try to make it better. That's just how I do it. And then sometimes too as well, if I make a mistake when I come back on air, I'll be like, oh, I'll laugh at myself too as well on air and say, maybe I pronounced the word wrong, or maybe I pronounced somebody's name wrong. I'll come back when I find out the real thing. I'll be like, oh my gosh, can you believe that I was saying that? I just make a mockery of myself and carry on. I mean, it happens. Just take a deep breath. That's what me I personally do. And just know that people like this, they are human like you, and they don't have two heads, so it's fine.
Okay, thank you very much, ma.
All right.
Okay, ma, please. For documentation's sake, ma, please, we want to know so that when we are submitting our assignment, we know what to put. Please, which one should we go first? Is it Cynthia Anyanwu or Sunshine Shetty? Because we have two profiles here, ma.
You can go with Cynthia Sunshine Anyanwu.
Okay, ma, thank you very much.
Or who's asking so I can text it to you. You can go with Cynthia, put the Sunshine in brackets, then Anyanwu.
Okay, ma.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please, is that all the questions? So we could let our lecturer go rest if she's done with us.
That should be all from for now.
All right then. Thank you all for paying attention. It's been 2 hours, and Well, I hope I did not bore you people. But yeah, thank you for paying attention and for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, ma.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
ma.
much. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you so
Alright.
much.
Thank you
you,
so
ma.
much.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Be
We
You're
blessed.
appreciate your time.
We appreciate. We look forward to hearing from you some other time.
All right then.
Please, ma'am.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Please, ma'am, before you go, I would like to know your name on social media, your Instagram
This
or Twitter.
this hot sunshine.
Ma, I didn't get you.
This hot sunshine. All right. I'm just going to put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll put that in the chat.
Okay, ma, we'll send them.
All right. Cool. All right. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think we are done for this section of lectures. Let's review our work and put down and submit our assignment. And let's wait for the 4 p.m. lectures. Thank you very much. I had a nice section as well, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did as well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
everyone.
did as
That's
well.
awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Please, if you are the one that asked for the Twitter handle, please can you write it out? Because since I'm the host here, I'm the one that has the responsibility to end this session.
I've
So I'm
written
about
it.
to end it. So
You
okay.
can go ahead.
All
I've
right
written
now.
it.
All right, let's see us by 4. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.